Hey, this is Brendan Allen from ComicCon.com. We are doing happy hour number 11 this time, and we're going to do zombies. Joining us today is Will Robson. And Will's got a Kickstarter starting on September 1st called Outbreaks. It's an anthology of zombie stories that he says are tied together sort of in the vein of the Black Mirror horror kind of vibe there. So welcome to the show, Will. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. How are you guys doing? Thanks for having me.
Fair to middling, fair to middling. That's a Southern saying, right, guys?
Sure.
No? All right, fair.
Are you guys all from the South? Or?
South of what?
Where are you from, Brendan?
I'm from California. Did you not know this?
What? I didn't know.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, I thought it had come up once or twice before, but maybe I forgot to mention that.
You'd say like tolerable, right? How you doing? How's your mom and them?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
How's your mom and them? I forgot about that one. That's true.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. All right. So we are doing zombie themed cocktails. We're going to talk about some zombie media here. Our guest came up with a drink today called a corpse reviver. So Will, why don't you tell us about the drink and rattle off that recipe for us?
So I didn't create this drink. This is actually a classic cocktail, and I think it's called like Corpse Reviver number 2 or something like that. And it's called a Corpse Reviver because it's got so much alcohol in it that if you're hungover, it'll get you right back on the horse or the wagon. And it's equal measures, so it makes everything super easy. And it's equal measures gin, lemon juice, freshly squeezed. What else is in there? Kina Lile, which is the pudding wine that's in the 007 cocktail, the Vespa. And also, what's the orange thing called? I always forget the name of it. It starts with a C. Cointreau, that's it. Yeah, so it's equal parts those. And it's delicious. It really is. And it's dangerous because it doesn't taste alcoholic at all. And if I make it for my wife and her friends, I make them, I turn around, they're all gone, and I have to start making them again. So watch out.
Oh, I thought you said like you make them, you turn around, and they're all gone. Like they just split with your drinks. They're like, peace.
That too, yeah.
Nice. Cool. All right. So zombies in cinema. Obviously, you've got the George Romero films and things like that. What are you guys' like favorite zombie films that are out there? Don't everybody go at once.
Look, I'll go at once because I'm a zombie guy from way back. I don't feel like you can say, I know you just said, I know you got the Romero stuff, but the absolute pinnacle of zombie movie are those Romero movies. Now, I'm a little bit blasphemous because I'll tell you that I enjoy Day of the Dead more than Dawn of the Dead.
Hey, man, that's my favorite zombie movie. I love Day of the Dead.
Yeah, Day of the Dead has the best opening, I would say, of any zombie movie ever. When they're in that city and it's all empty and they're calling out for survivors.
Hello.
It is such a great haunting scene. That is my favorite of the Romero movies. But I kind of lump them all together. I just think the Romero, the original 3, and maybe even that 4th one. Those are the best zombie movies of all time.
Now, I don't want you to think that I was dismissing them because those are obviously the benchmark. What I was saying is just let's talk about them, not saying like, oh, and these are here as well. No, the Romero movies are obviously, they kind of invented the genre because I don't think anything was before or after even compares to the Romero.
Yeah, Day of the Dead, that's my favorite zombie movie of all time. I listen to the soundtrack constantly because the soundtrack is actually really good to that movie.
That's Goblin. Isn't it Goblin did the soundtrack to that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's, I don't know, it's just something special about the movie. Actually, the book that I was just writing for IDW is heavily based on the vibe of that film, just people trapped, isolated, not getting along while the pressure cooker is on. And the great thing about Day of the Dead as well, it was the first zombie movie to really show proper looking zombies, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. And you've got Tom Savini, you've got Greg Nicotero, a young Greg Nicotero on there working on all the zombies. And it's just brilliant. Like, look, it gets a lot of, can I swear on this podcast, by the way?
Absolutely.
Okay. It gets a lot of shit because some people think some of the acting is like overacted, or, there's a lot of people from the stage that are in this film I personally love it. And I think it's the first time you ever see someone get bitten and a limb's chopped off, and they solder it up to solder. That's not the right word. They cauterize it, and the person potentially lives. And yeah, I love that movie to death. Night of the Living Dead is great. I watch it every Halloween because it just fits the vibe. And Dawn of the Dead is a classic, and I do love Dawn of the Dead, but there's just something really special about Day of the Dead to me.
Yeah. And look, I mean, I can go down a list of great zombie movies. And we've got Fulci's Zombie. We've got Return of the Living Dead, which resulted from the breakup of Romero and Russo, created the alternate timeline of Return of the Living Dead. And even though the movies are kind of terrible, I still like all the other Return of the Dead, the sequels past
number 3, the third one.
It's fine. It's not great, but I like it.
Yeah, it's fun.
So we've got the Return of the Dead. If you want to get into really weird zombies, I think Pontypool, if you haven't seen Pontypool, is a zombie movie that is a non-zombie movie that's pretty great.
Now, have you watched I Walked with a Zombie from 1943?
Oh yeah, I don't remember much of it. It's fine.
Well, that one, I mean, I think Romero kind of made like the modern image of what a zombie is, how they act, like what they do. But before that, zombies kind of have this rich history in voodoo and hoodoo, and so it's that whole like, a witch woman does with the powder up the nose or whatever makes you into a living dead, whatever. So it goes back to the origin story.
That's all based on like somewhat scientifically proven stuff. I remember reading a book on it about people that found a way where it was a lot of psychological stuff. It was more like breaking someone down so psychologically and had to do with like their heartbeat slowing down and becoming zombie-like in a sense, even though they're not actually zombies. But yeah, like you said, all of that origin stuff, that's very like Caribbean culture. That's a lot of it comes from them. But Romero is the first one that's like, hey, what if these fuckers start eating people like that? And that to me is a zombie, right? Like,
what's the motivation behind? I actually just got surprised by one because I was trying to find streaming movies this morning actually, and I watched one, and I swear to God, it is the first zombie movie that I have ever watched that made me like legit break down and cry at the end. It's called Cargo, and it's from 2017. You guys heard of this one?
Yeah, I've seen that.
Cargo.
It's got Martin Freeman in it, and I love him from Sherlock and some other stuff that he's done. And then it's got Susie Porter as his wife, and Susie Porter I remember from Welcome to Whoop Whoop.
I'd never known of that.
Oh my God, you've got to watch this film. This guy has a bunch of Australian cockatoos in New York, and he's trying to sell them illegally, and they get away and they fly back to Australia. And the stupidest thing ever, he goes to Australia to find his birds, and he gets kidnapped by this crazy lady who takes him back to her like incestuous little clan in the middle of Australia. It is just you got to watch.
Great.
Welcome to Whoop Whoop from God, what year was that?
Wait, Welcome to Whoop Whoop's not a zombie movie, right? Those cockatoos don't turn into zombies, because that would be baller.
I was hoping that's a cockatoo.
That's the
would show
Shyamalan
up.
twist at the end.
Yeah.
But Cargo, no, it's a very human story about what would happen. I think it's kind of what The Walking Dead was trying to do before it got all stupid. And it's a father and his infant daughter and his wife, and they're doing their best just to try and find civilization and stay away from the zombies and stuff. And you barely see any zombies in the film.
Yeah, I like that.
So it's more of a theme, but it is also just so heartbreaking at the end. So I really recommend that. It's on Netflix. It's streaming right now. It's called Cargo from 2017.
It's definitely a unique take on the zombie story, right? Because people just surviving from zombies has been done to death. There's not going to be any new zombie thing that comes out that's just about a group of survivors that's going to ever be as big as The Walking Dead or the Romero films, because there's not much to add to that story. And that's a lot of what I'm trying to do with my book. Is I'm not interested in being like, these guys are survivors and the zombie outbreak happened and this is how they get through it. I have stuff similar to that, sure, but there's always a catch and a twist or a different take on it, because that brings something new to the old trope, right? Like there's like 500 Walking Dead shows right now. I watch them all because I'm obsessed with zombies. And, my brother calls me, I don't know if it's an offensive word or not, but he calls me a zombie slut because I will watch and consume all zombie content.
Hey, we're not kink shaming here. It's okay.
Yes. Well, zombies aren't my kink, but
Anton is a is an aquatic creature slut.
Mhm.
He loves
Right.
any movie with an aquatic monster.
Very true.
Right.
I
Also,
do.
also that Mothman.
I love that Mothman.
What about
I think you're hitting on
Mothman
that.
in the Sea?
Wait, what am I
Mothman
pegged as? You
I
guys
just watched,
all have your.
I got back from the last voyage of the Demeter this morning because it was a vampire in the ocean. How am I not going to watch an aquatic monster?
Oh yeah, was that any good?
Oh, I mean, I enjoyed it. It was thoroughly a good monster movie.
I watched it the other night.
It's not going to change anybody's life or anything, I think. But I mean, it was fun. I enjoyed it. I like the creature effects. I think you hit on something really important though with zombies, zombie stories. Is there's too much for me? It feels like repetition. You know, it's like we're the survivors. Oh no, somebody's missing. Oh no, somebody hides a bite. Yeah. Oh no, we found a friend. They're an enemy. Rinse, repeat, and it just does it over and over again.
Or like the zombies just learned how to walk fast, or they just learned how to climb a tree, or all
my favorite zombie movies are like RE-ANIMATOR. I really like the RE-ANIMATOR. Paranorman is delightful, and too many people sleep on it. That is a zombie movie.
No, it's a great film. Yeah,
it's good.
And Army of Darkness, right? Evil Dead. Those are zombie movies. Like
I never count Evil Dead's or RE-ANIMATOR as zombies to me because I'm like, if they're not eating people, then like they're not zombies to me, you know. And look, I love Evil Dead. I've got a shrine to Bruce Campbell behind me, but that's more like demonic possession to me, right? And RE-ANIMATOR is more science horror. The zombies to me are just like it started with me actually when I was a kid and the Michael Jackson music video for Thriller was on TV.
Oh yeah.
And I was with a buddy and I was probably 5 or something like that. We were running around playing superheroes or whatever. He kept running along, but I stopped and I stayed and I watched this music video because it terrified me. And it wasn't the dancing zombies that scared me. It was when they all pop out from their graves. But the most important thing is towards the end of that music video, there's the girl and she runs into this house and the zombies all break in and they just slowly move towards her. Right. And that to me as a kid, I was like, well, I'm scarred for life. This is the scariest thing I've ever seen. And it's one thing, like I know the old argument recently has been like, what's scarier, fast moving zombies or slow moving zombies? And I'll always say slow moving. And I'll quote, what's his name? The director of Shaun of the Dead. What's the guy's name?
Another great zombie film.
Edgar Wright.
Edgar Wright. He said, slow zombies are always scary because they're like lava. They'll take a while, but they're going to get you in the end. And when they do, it's going to be painful. And I'm like, I 100% agree.
I'll punch that slow zombie right in the face. Get off me.
Yeah, but when there's thousands of them, that's a lot of punching.
I'll punch 10,000. I don't care. I'll keep punching them.
I can't get away from a fast zombie. I could get away from a slow zombie for sure.
But that's fine. Like I'll stand outside, put my hands out, and accept death if there's fast zombies running around. But the slow one gives you hope, right? Like you're like, I could survive this. And when you don't, like end of Day of the Dead, when those people get ripped apart, that is gruesome stuff.
Anton, what are you drinking? Because
what are you talking about?
Your face is all blue. Your face is dyed blue.
Is this intentional?
Are you talking about my drink? This right here? Are you talking about my delicious?
All right, let's go ahead with your recipe on that because that is something, dude. You are blue.
This delicious concoction is called the RE-ANIMATOR. It is 3 ounces of pineapple juice. There is 2 shots of green apple moonshine that is in here. A little bit of dragon fruit Red Bull. And a little bit of sour mix, and it's got some chamoy in it. And then there is for the delightful drippy effect that is dyeing everything in my office. My wife mixed some corn syrup with some kind of pigment, and it's getting everywhere. So I'm gonna enjoy it.
It looks like you've made like cinematic blood. I mean, isn't that just corn syrup and dye?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, and it's got a sour neon green. One of those icy pops, freezy pops in it. And that's melted all to hell because I literally was sitting here not realizing I wasn't. It's everywhere.
You are a classy trash bag through and through.
Hey man, I am the classiest trash bag that ever lived.
That's
hey, this is high quality mason glass right here.
I appreciate the mason jar. one of the last conventions I went to, I just put like a soda in a mason jar and walked around, and it was the most like the story started floating around. Oh, Cullen Bunn drinking moonshine out of mason jar, walking around the convention. It was just like Mountain Dew, but
That's on brand though, for sure.
Everybody's like, "What are you drinking? Oh my gosh, right out in the open like that." I don't care. Yeah, I'm drinking a lot. A couple of zombie movies we didn't mention, just real quick to get them on the board because maybe they'll spur some conversation.
Yes, sir.
First of all, I think that Woody Harrelson zombie movie is pretty great. That Zombieland, I like it.
That is a fantastic film.
Yeah.
Yes.
I would say Train to Busan is amazing.
Oh yeah, so good.
But then we get into some and 28 Days Later. If you like Rage Zombies, it's pretty good. But Cemetery Man and Dead Alive, those two are crazy good. And Dead Alive has, and I'm not going to say it in case you haven't watched it, and for our viewers who haven't watched it, it still has what I consider one of the best lines in all of zombie movies of all time.
I watched that as a teen, and I was thoroughly entertained. And I was like, how the hell did this guy end up directing Lord of the Rings? You know?
Yeah.
Like, but it's the same as Sam Raimi going from Evil Dead and making Spider-Man, right? Like, I guess sometimes Hollywood is like, hey, you made a really weird horror movie. You'd be great for this huge franchise.
Yeah, for sure.
Cullen saw Train to Busan. I remember when you saw that, you texted me and you were like, "Hey, I just saw this movie. You need to watch it." Like, it was one of those. It was good too. I did not expect, and the follow-up isn't bad either.
I haven't seen the sequel because I heard bad things about it, but the first film has so much heart.
It's
the problem with the sequel is it has to live up to Train to Busan, which is going to be that's a hard hurdle to leap.
That's almost a situation where even if it's a good film, you want to have like a ghost writer and ghost creative team or whatever, so that people don't compare it as the spiritual successor or like the actual sequel, because you want them to take it on its merit, and they just won't because the original was so good.
Right.
Now, what do you guys think of the World War Z film?
I really liked the book.
Yeah,
I got the World War Z book and really enjoyed that it's like little vignettes or like journal entries, and I thought that was really cool. Like, I think that's like an effective way to tell a global horror story as you tell it from different perspectives across the world. And I felt like the movie was just a little too much like, I mean, I love video games, though. I'm not insulting the medium by any means.
Right, you like video games?
Really? No, just scared. But it felt too gamey. It was like a cutscene from like a PlayStation 4 video game. It just didn't feel, there wasn't anything to it. I wasn't scared. It didn't worry me.
Right.
But,
I agree. I like the movie just fine. It's fine. But the book is so great. And here's a little tidbit of information that most people don't know. Get ready. Years ago, Brian Hurt and I were contracted to do a comic book series based on the book World War Z. Not an adaptation of World War Z, but other stories that were going on in the world of that book. That would have been awesome.
Nice.
So,
that would
Sounds
have
like it would have been.
I think I might be the only person in the world that defends that movie. But like, and the funny thing is I love all of his zombie books that he makes. I think his name is Max Brooks, right? What's his name? Yeah. The Zombie Survival Guide is such a good book. And World War Z is a fantastic read. I mean, the Battle of Yonkers in that is one of my favorite zombie stories ever made. But I went into it, like I went to film school, so I studied film critically, and I went into that movie young and super snobby, like I just came from my Hitchcock class, so I'm going to watch World War Z now. It's going to be terrible. And I had a lot of fun, and I can't deny how much fun. And every time I've shown someone that movie, they've always had fun watching it. I think it's just, it just doesn't stop, that movie. It's just a good time. And I still think the ending with sort of the way they solved the zombie crisis was unique and cool.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I think it sits up there. You know, I don't think about it when people bring up zombie movies, but I don't have any like bad memories of it. It's not like, oh man, I wish they had done this better. It's like the Richard Gere of zombie films, right? It just kind of exists when somebody brings it up, but you completely
That's
forget
the Waterworld guy, right?
Yeah,
Waterworld.
Did he do Waterworld? Right? That was.
Oh my God, you guys were just.
So I gotta make a confession here. I've never seen the film, and the reason why is because I have this weird thing that if somebody demands, like they say to me, you must watch this film, I can't. And so many people, when they came out, they're like, oh my God, you love horror, you have to watch this film. And I was like, no, fuck you. No, it's not going to happen. Like, I just can't. My wife's been trying to get me to watch Amelie for 20 years, and I will not because
Well,
she
you
keeps,
should
like,
watch Amelie. You
Amelie's
should watch
horrifying.
Amelie. Amelie's
the other
pretty-
thing is, if it's got a stupid cover, I can't watch it. Amelie's got a stupid cover, and the pile of zombies on the cover or World War Z just makes me not want to ever see it. I can't do it. I'm sorry.
Man, you know what, Brendan?
What's up?
You're such a rebel. I'm gonna be a rebel too, and I'm not gonna watch movies that are good either.
Amelie's up there with E.T.
No, it's like no. When you go into a restaurant, Cullen, and I know this about you. When you go into a restaurant and somebody tells you this thing on the menu is so good, you will not touch it. And I know that about you because I watched it happen. So shut up.
That's not true. I'll eat.
Or somebody says to you about your food looks so good, you won't touch it.
That's
No.
different. That's a different thing.
And you're getting it wrong.
Yeah.
You can look at my food all day long, but if you tell me my food smells good, you're gonna get a punch in the head.
Yeah.
That's fucking stupid. Smell your own food. Don't smell my food.
Also, don't touch somebody else's food.
You know what's funny?
Like,
Well, no, that's a given. That's a given. Do not touch
Yeah.
my food. But you know what? I just noted, like, Will, you came on and you said, "Is it okay to swear on the show?" And we've just dropped like 4 F-bombs in a row. That's never happened before.
And I never
ever.
cuss. I don't do it.
One movie that came or didn't come up in the zombie thing, and I know why, because it's a terrible movie, was Warm Bodies. Did you guys see that turd?
No, I never saw that.
I have
like
it.
I know of it.
I have a Blu-ray of it over on my shelf, but somebody told me it was really good, so I just don't watch it.
It's like a teen angst film of like a dude has a crush on a girl, she has a crush on him, and he dies, and he comes back, and then she tries to make a relationship work with him, and it's just like,
It was just a jumping on the Twilight bandwagon, wasn't that movie?
Yeah, it was a
well,
romance.
except it precedes Twilight by about 30 years.
Yeah, it's a romance zombie movie.
I thought it was. What am I thinking of? I thought there was a romance zombie movie with the guy that played Beast in the X-Men First Class.
I know what you're talking about. I've seen the cover. I haven't watched it, but I do.
Oh, it's not. It's more
Crow
recent than I
zombie?
thought. It came out in 2013.
Yeah.
Is the Crow a smart zombie?
I mean, he is an
Who?
animated corpse. I think animated corpse is like, are zombies. That's why I said Army of Darkness, zombies, Passion of the Christ, zombies, Re-ANIMATOR,
he's
zombies.
He's a vengeance zombie, right?
If he's a zombie, he's my favorite zombie.
Nice.
Uh,
All right, let's do this one. I made.
Wait, you guys are just going to gloss over the great Resident Evil movies? Every single one, a
My
classic.
mother-in-law
I'll
loves those
walk
movies.
over
She is a huge fan of the Resident Evil movie, like legitimately, not ironically. Like she's all for it. You're like, oh, you're gonna put on the Resident Evil movie? All right, let's watch. I mean, she's like, this movie's badass.
It's
She
the Fast and
loves it.
Furious of the zombie universe, right?
I'll sit
pretty
down
much.
right now and watch all 30 of them, however many they are. I'm telling you, I love them. I think they're really great. I'm not saying
When did those start coming out? Because I remember.
First one's
did Resident Evil come out?
2002, I think. The first one
Yeah.
came out.
Yeah,
Is there
I'm not
nudity
saying
in that
they're
one?
great movies, but they're great fun to watch. The first one's legitimately good. I think
Yeah.
the first one's legitimately
Now-
legit good. The other
That's the
one,
Umbrella Corporation. That's that one.
Yeah.
And The Hive.
Okay. Now I'm getting it. I got it.
Right.
I'm a diehard Resident Evil fan. It's like my favorite video game franchise. of all time.
It's phenomenal, isn't it? It's such a good franchise.
No one's ever been able to adapt it, and I don't know why. I think they just need to give Mike Flanagan on Netflix the first
The money
game.
to do it. I
and
agree
say,
with you.
Go to the Spencer Mansion and make a show.
Yeah, make it happen. I'm right there with you, man. That is sound logic. Listen to this, gentleman. Like sound logic. Because I thought it might even be cool if they did because Biohazard, right? Biohazard was a lot of fun, very creepy, very moody, shifts the genre a little bit, and then you get into it in the third act. Village is kind of to me a spiritual successor of 4. But Village is delightful, right? I've probably 8 playthroughs of Village. I don't even save anymore. I just run it in 2.5 hours and enjoy the hell out of it. The storytelling in those is so nuanced and it's fun, and the zombies make sense. I would love to see an adaptation for it. I think you're absolutely right, though. It should be long form.
It's one of my goals in life is to finally be someone behind adapting Resident Evil properly. It's on my list of what to
Is
do.
Village the one with the
Well,
little
this
Napoleon
show
look?
could be the platform that you jump
That's
off
cool.
of. This could make that happen.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm sure Hollywood will come knocking on my door.
Yeah, I like that one.
That's the 4 is the one with the Napoleon guy. That was I had 4 on GameCube, and it was the
Me too.
only thing that I had on a GameCube. It was like some third-hand GameCube I bought from like games. It was like a knockoff GameStop. You know, like the guy would buy your watch. Might have been a pawn shop thinking about it.
Game shop.
Yeah.
We went to the neighborhood bookie behind the fish
Got
market.
my game. But
I got this as a gift at a convention from
Yeah,
a comic
Kennedy.
book store.
Nice.
That's really cool.
That is really cool, man. I used to have I have a thing, right? I don't like branded clothing. It either has to be like, you know, if it's Dungeons and Dragons shirt, it's got to be like Saturday morning cartoon looking, super goofy with the D&D ampersand on it, so you know exactly what it is. But if it's something from like a band, you know, or something that comes from a movie that's like something that exists in that movie, if it's got a Stars logo on it, you know, Stars from Resident Evil, I don't want it to have Capcom on it. Like, I just want it to be the thing it is. Like Infant Sorrow from Get Him to the Greek. I have a band shirt from that. I have like Powerline band shirts from the Goofy movie that don't say Goofy movie. Like, I think that's, to me, that is cool. I don't
Cobra
like
Kai shirts that don't say the Karate Kid underneath them.
Right, exactly. I like that kind of stuff. I used to have
I have a shirt like.
Go ahead. What are you saying, Brendan?
I have a shirt like this that's from, you know, what is it? Back to the Future 3 or whatever, when he goes back in time. And it's the design from the show, but it doesn't say Back to the Future across the chest.
Oh, nice.
It's what Marty McFly was wearing.
That's
cool, the
man.
kind of thing. But if it's got the logo or if it's got a tag on it that makes it super obvious, no.
But on the back, does it say the future?
The future.
That'd be awesome.
That would be pretty great.
Nice.
All
right, my drink.
Something that didn't have both of the IP and then the thing that exists in the universe is there was a soft Stars baseball cap, and like this was high school, Anton, right? Where I didn't have, you know, lunch money was saved by comics. I didn't, you know, it was like nothing. And I remember saving like 3 weeks to buy this thing. And it was amazing. And then somebody stole it when I was in college. But it was like, love the star. Leon Kennedy in 4 is easily one of the coolest protagonists in a zombie endeavor. You know, he's
exactly with blonde hair.
Well, it's not. It's like blondish red. It's like strawberry blonde.
Slows down in front of his face.
It does slow down in front of his face, and
Yeah.
you know that dude is killing people. Like, nobody ever has that conversation. That man walked into a village in the middle of like a European country and is shooting normal people alongside of like parasite infested villagers. Like, that's a murder.
They're far gone enough, you know.
Just because they're screaming in Dero, that means, you know, or muerte.
Oh, those are bad guys. If they're chanting, they're bad guys.
Clearly.
The remake was great as well.
Your drink, Brandon.
We got to get this other drink in. This one I called Zombie Apocalypse. Oh, there it is. And you can't see in here because it sucks, but there is a skull-shaped ice in here that I could not get to float right because the head is too big and so it goes sideways. But I was trying really hard. But this one's got an ounce of vodka, an ounce of blue I can never say this right.
Curacao.
Kachawa, half an ounce of melon liqueur, 1 ounce of sweet and sour mix, 3 ounces pineapple juice, and a cool garnish. I was thinking a gummy eyeball, but I couldn't find one. So
nice.
It's very pretty green.
It's and I wanted it to be more yellow. I wanted it to be like zombie bloodish, but the yellow stuff just didn't come through that blue.
Well, it's zombie
crap.
skin now. It's fine.
Yeah. Okay. It tastes good. It tastes like a really really sweet tropical tiki cocktail. I would expect to see this in like a tiki mug like that right there. Yes. Which actually could tie right into Cullen's, because I know that you were talking about.
Yeah. So my drink is, I'm calling it the Romero. Now, if you go to any good Japanese steakhouse, you're going to be able to order a zombie on the menu. And zombies have one purpose: to screw you up. They are incredibly powerful drinks. They're not. They taste great, but they don't taste sweet. These are. I mean, when you drink them, you know you're drinking an alcoholic beverage. But I wanted to give mine a little bit more of a tiki flavor. I wanted it to have a little more of the tiki screw you up flavor. So mine is and I served it up today in one of my this is my Halloween, one of the Halloween 3 tikis, because I was just looking for a creepy tiki. But it is it's got a lot of ingredients, and this could be the thing, but it's got light rum, dark rum, golden rum, lime juice, a little bit of bitters, some simple syrup, and then I kind of juiced it up a little bit to give it that red. I put some cranberry juice in it and some grenadine. But then to make it taste like a tiki drink, I put just a little bit of allspice dram in it and a little bit of velvet falernum. And it tastes like I've just walked into a tiki speakeasy somewhere, and it's awesome.
Tiki speakeasy, do those exist?
There used to be an amazing one called Tiki Cat in Kansas City.
Really?
And it closed during COVID, but it was a destination for me. There's one in Wichita that is behind a door that is completely unmarked, and it's called Lava and Tonic, or Tonic and Lava. It's a great tiki bar in Wichita. It's speakeasy tiki bars.
I didn't know that was a thing. You could just mash two completely different genres together, I guess.
Tikizies.
Yeah, tikizies. In Chicago, there's a great one down an alley. It's
Trademark.
not a tikizi because you can see it. But down this alley is a place called Three Dots and a Dash that is really awesome in Chicago. I'm a big tiki fan.
Nice. So my wife actually found this when I was doing show research, but I didn't even know this. Cullen, you've written a zombie book, Night of the Living Deadpool, yeah?
I did.
Yeah, I love that book, man.
Thank you.
You did something in it that I really liked, which no one's done before, which was we get to hear the thoughts of the zombies, and they are completely aware of what they're doing, and they're like, "Oh God, please kill me now." There's one line you have it like, "I ate my cat," and I love that so much. I really enjoyed that book.
So
I want that on a shirt now.
Maybe.
I ate my cat.
I love working on that book. It is my favorite Deadpool thing that I've written, and it came from a few years earlier. I was asked to write a Marvel zombie book. So I was brought on to pitch a zombie ongoing series that was a serious zombie story in the Marvel universe, and it was gonna blow minds. It was awesome. And one of the things that in my pitch was that the zombies were still they were like trapped in the body, and they were muttering things even though they were zombified. They couldn't do anything about it. Man, that story was going to be such a baller story. But a few years later, I was asked to do Night of the Living Deadpool, and I kind of incorporated some of the elements. I mean, not the coolest elements, but because my zombie story was not about superheroes being turned into zombies. That was not. Who cares? I wanted superheroes existing in a zombie or dying in a zombie apocalypse world.
That sounds great. I would love to see that.
They made a deal with Dr. Doom, and he opened a portal into hell and made a deal with Mephisto so that they could just start transporting people into hell because it was better than living on Earth. Ooh, man, that was going to be a good story. There's a one with blonde hair whipping down. He just killing fools.
I saw a meme where it was a ghost and a zombie like in the same frame, and it was the ghost of the person that became the zombie, and the zombie's like brains, and the ghost is in there going, "For fuck's sake, Edward, we were an attorney."
Yeah, fun.
That's great.
I love that.
And look, that's the type of stuff I'm trying to do in my book. Is just fun, different takes on the zombie trope. Like I'm writing and drawing the backup story in my book. It's a story called Dead-Eye Dick, and it's a throwback to 50s and 60s comics. And it's kind of like a superhero story, like a superhero noir story about a war vet from World War II who gets his eye shot out, and he gets this experimental surgery where he gets a new eye implanted into his brain. Little does he know it, not into his brain, into his skull. But little does he know it, it's a zombie's eye, and it starts taking over his body and started craving for human flesh, and he has to appease it. But it also gives him amazing super abilities like hearing heartbeats from a mile away and like all this fantastical stuff. And that's, like I said, that's what I'm trying to do is I have no interest in your bog standard zombie story. If I want that, I'll go read The Walking Dead. But like I said, with your story, Colin, I love you can hear what they're saying inside their head. That's the stuff that gets me excited because I have ingested every zombie like form of media across the board. And I just love it when someone's like, "Yeah, but what if this happened?" I'm like, "Great! Like, how did no one think of that?"
That's one of the things that I really loved about that movie is just like it's such a different perspective, and it's rare that you find that. So, or it's rare that you find that and it works because there's a lot of people that have tried stuff and it's just stupid.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, I highly recommend that everybody watch that film. It's very good, and it's free right now. Well, it's not free, but it's included with your Netflix subscription, and it's very good. The ending legitimately got me as a father, as a family man. Like it really hit me. So
Yeah.
Oh, you just reminded me of. Have you read Christopher Sabella's Heartthrob?
Yeah.
No.
It's the same kind of story where the lady gets a heart transplant, and then the original owner of the heart, his thoughts and his feelings and things, and it turns out it was like a serial killer. So
Oh, right.
she
Yeah.
starts having these really dark ideations or whatever that come with like the ghost memory of the heart that gets transplanted into her. And then I think it breaks into like a romance and stuff with them too. It's a really interesting, like funky little, just like totally dark story.
Nice. There's a couple of stories like that. I remember after I wrote Dead Eye Dick, I heard about this story with Mark Hamill, and it was a John Carpenter anthology he made. And I think it was he got an eye transplant as well, where I was like, I think my story's been taken here. But
John
it was
Carpenter's body bags.
What's
Is
that?
anything written now that's not derivative? I mean, in some level, like
Yeah.
The story, and I don't remember the story except that Mark Hamill's in it, is in John Carpenter's Body Bags.
That's the name of it, yeah. And the eye he gets is from a serial killer, so he starts becoming a serial killer. So I was like, okay, that's not my story, it's fine. But that old trope goes back to Frankenstein, right? Like we accidentally put a criminal's like brain in him, and this, that, and the other. So I love stuff like that.
Nothing new under the sun, but it's like what new did you bring to it is what I want to know.
Can we talk about some? I mean, look, I know we talk about movies, but zombies go beyond movies, right? Mm-hmm. Can we talk about some comics and books that I think are great?
Absolutely.
So I know we're going to talk about Walking Dead at some point, right?
It's next. Go ahead.
I mean, it's fine. Whatever. I didn't finish the comic. I didn't finish the TV show, so I don't know. I mean. Somebody else can talk about it. I think there's a better zombie apocalypse comic that in existence that
I can't read the book because it hurts my eyes because the black and white. I haven't looked at the deluxe series yet to see if it's better, but I tried. I got the Costco, $30 anthologies, whatever, and I tried to watch it. I was also really high because I just had my face broken apart and put back together, so I don't know if that played into it. But the series, I looked recently and I saw there's like 15 seasons on there. I was like, how is there 15? And so I started rewatching it, and then I got to a point and I was like, oh, that's when I stopped watching. And it's right about when the kids stopped caring, and so they killed him off because he realized the show was starting to suck, and he stopped, like, he was like phoning it in, and then they're like, okay, your character's dead. He's like, cool, where's my paycheck?
Are you talking about Carl?
Coral.
Yeah.
Coral.
Yeah. I think the story there was I believe what happened was he turned 18 and then he demanded for more pay, and they just cut him out of the show. I think.
The interview that I saw with the actor was just like, he was like, yeah, it was right for them to write me off the show because I did not give a shit about the show anymore.
Oh, okay.
I was not acting.
He got bit by a zombie. He got bit by a zombie, guy.
Yeah, but like The Walking Dead's my favorite long comic book series of all time. I love that book so much. I started reading it. It came out in 2003. I think I started reading it in 2005 because I was living in America at the time, and they sold it at Borders on the spinner rack. And I was like, I love zombies. And my dad, he was working for this company where magazines were a write-off for him because he traveled. So he's like, whatever comics you want, I'll get them. And I was like, I want Walking Dead, and I want whatever else.
You can write off comics?
Yeah, I got free comics for like 4 years or something like that. It was awesome. But yeah, I love Walking Dead. I think what Kirkman did with that whole series was great. I think he ended it really great as well. And it really was the first of its kind. It was the zombie story that never ends, even though it did. But it just, to tell a story like that over what? God, when did it end? 2018, 2019?
Not soon enough.
Yeah, no, it's fine. Look, I'm the type of guy.
Tell us how you really feel, Cullen.
I don't poo-poo on other people's stuff. There's plenty of stuff I fucking hate.
Cullen does not have that restriction on his commentary.
I won't judge anybody for liking anything.
No, look, you love it, and look, I've read half the series, and I have the other half in hardback. So, I mean, I just haven't read it yet.
It's fine. Look, I'm a zombie slut, as I said. So I was there waiting every single month for a new issue. I love that series so much. And I was so pumped for when that show was coming out because I was like the only person I knew in the world that liked Walking Dead or even knew what it was. So I remember being like telling everyone like, "This my favorite freaking book is gonna be a TV show and it's a comic," and they're like, "What? I don't care. Like zombies, I don't like zombies." And then it became world phenomenon, and I was kind of like fucking pissed off because I was like, "Hey, this is my thing, right?" Like, and now everyone loves it, and like even my friend's
That's the
dad.
subtitle for this issue or for this episode is going to be, Happy Hour number 11, Zombies, the F-bomb issue. Like,
But I remember like my friend's dad was like, "Oh, mate, Walking Dead, that's my fucking favorite show. I love it, mate. I watch it all the time." I'm like, "Oh, if you like it, you should read the comic." He's like, "Comic? Pfft, I'm not reading that shit." And it just cracked me up because he's like a London caviar. He goes, "I don't have time to read a fucking comic, I'm not a child." I'm like, "All right, well, it's based off of the book, but whatever."
Yeah, I stopped watching the show at the same time, Brendan, you mentioned, when I was like, Coral, don't get bit by a zombie, Coral. Don't get bit, but you did. Damn you, Coral. But
I stopped watching the show as well, man. And it was my favorite show for the longest time. It got to a point where it was post Rick leaving the show, and it was I just didn't care about these characters anymore.
That's the other thing is when all the principals leave and you're left with like two that started as peripheral characters and now they're the main characters because they're the most interesting of who's left. It's like, because he got called up for an extension and he was like, but where are we going with this? And they pitched it to him and he's like, no.
I thought it was because, well, maybe the political answer he gave was he's like, I've been spending all of my summers filming this show and I have not seen my kids grow up at all, and I would like to be with them in the summers to see them grow up. That might be the political answer he gave, but
I'm gonna call bullshit on that because when you make a certain amount of money, you can take your kids anywhere you want to go, whenever you want to go. So the school year, none of that stuff matters. Like you bring the tutor with them, Like,
yeah,
I don't think.
I think it's because they wanted to stay in England.
I bet you he wasn't making quite as much money as you think that he could have.
He's making more money than I make. I'm gonna tell you that.
Oh, I'm sure he made a lot.
Teachers accompanying him full time. I think you might be overestimating. I think he was doing very.
You know what
well.
they pay teachers? It's not that much.
Do you know what they pay comic book artists? It's not much either. That's a different story though. But I stopped watching just before the Whisperers came in, and I remember what happened was
look like zombies, but they ain't.
Yeah, they wore zombie skin on their face.
That was kind of a cool idea, but at that point, they had so many like little offshoot communities or whatever that like every one of them had to have like a weird little thing about them instead of just being a community. So you had the dump people, and then you had the saviors, and then you had the Whisperers.
The dump people.
So my big problem was
awful.
And did they ever come with resolution to what the helicopter shit was, or who that tall lady
that's
what
they're
really
telling
was,
in the next Walking Dead series that's coming out soon.
Eric, producer in chief
Eric,
is telling us that the guy, I can't think of his name now, the sheriff man, also
Rick
immediately
Grimes?
agreed. That's it. Immediately agreed to star in a Walking Dead feature that's now going to be a series. So I guess there's another spinoff coming out.
Yeah, Kirkman was supposed to be doing a trilogy movie series with the character Rick Grimes, and to put a pin on that character. And then there was, I think, a bunch of studio stuff that, that's the thing about that show is people were making magic, and it's the same with everything. Oh, you've got something that's popular? Well, I'm a studio, and I'd like to put all my fingers in your pie and just rip it to shreds.
Fast and the Furious.
If they were making magic, though, I would have felt a little bit better about it, because like something happened around 2019 that made me stop watching a show about a global pandemic that was killing everybody.
Yeah, but man,
I remember what it was, but like somewhere around there, I just, I was like, maybe if I look outside,
so
there's like
funny story,
just kind of shuffling around, screaming about open the state, sacrifice the weak, and it looks a little too much like what's happening in this TV show on AMC that was delightful up until this point. Now it's a little bit of a cautionary tale. It's kind of horrifying me. Not to mention Coral is gone. Like, I don't know, man. Coral.
So a funny thing that happened before we actually started recording is I was talking to Will about how, like, people still look at me funny when I go out with masks. And the thing is that I've got a medically sensitive child, and I was wearing masks well before the pandemic. And so in certain situations, I still wear masks. And Will had some interesting, funny stories about hand sanitizer and then what happened like right before pandemic hit. So let's talk about hand sanitizer for a minute there, Will.
Sure. I've always been a bit of a germaphobe, but that's only because I always catch colds super easily. It's why I don't do many conventions, because if I go to a convention, I'm going to catch a cold. It's just the way it's always gone. So I've always used hand sanitizer way before the pandemic and everything. So much so that it became a running joke in my family. And every Christmas, they would get me hand sanitizer in my stockings. And then in 2019, that Christmas, my family got a Costco-sized crate of hand sanitizer as like a big joke. Like they wrapped it in a present and they opened it like, ah, ha, ha, like, this is funny, like, because it's freaking hand sanitizer. You think it's going to be something else. But the joke was on them because come the pandemic, I was hooked up. All I needed was like
coming around knocking.
All I needed was a stocking full of toilet paper as well, and I would have been laughing all the way.
Now, I was over here griping about it should have been magic that animated the zombies as opposed to a virus, and I think I stepped over Cullen saying my biggest problem was, and then I didn't get to hear the rest of it. What was your biggest problem with The Walking Dead? Because I really want to know.
I don't like when you introduce a villain and the villain is popular because they're evil and terrible, and then people want him to become a hero. Negan was not a hero. Negan should have died. Negan should have never been like,
even in the second.
I forgive you. No, stupid.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
There's a show out right now with Negan and Maggie, and
I don't like that. Maggie,
I can't watch it. I can't watch it. It's just
that's too much.
Negan is just really.
Didn't he kill her husband? Like, what?
His character.
And look,
his character, Negan's character, when they did the whole redemption during the Whispers and stuff like that, it should have been completely self-serving. Like, I am doing this just because of how it weighs out for me and my benefit in the end. You guys have the good shit. You've got the farming. You've got all the stuff going on. I want to stay around that. But like the whole, he's turned a leaf thing. I don't buy it. No, that dude was just way too much.
The thing is, he was such a good actor. He's awesome in the role. But I still can't buy that people would just be like, okay, it's all right that you killed Lynn. No,
he had like a rape harem.
Yeah.
Something that really bugs me is the finale of The Walking Dead, like wraps that up where Maggie basically forgives him for it. And it's an all right scene. And then they go their separate ways. But now there's a show where they're back together again. And Maggie's like, you know what? I'm not happy you killed my husband. It's like, I thought we covered this. Like, why are we digging this all up?
Forgive him. She can forgive him. That's fine. That makes her the better person, but that doesn't make him not evil.
No, but he's not even evil anymore. He's just like I'm just a sad guy that's trying to do good for my past misjudgment.
Yeah, every villain doesn't need a redemption. Every villain doesn't need an origin story. Sometimes bad people are just bad people.
Yeah, when Rick slit his throat, he should have bled out.
Yeah.
That shows.
All right, so we're getting the high sign from producer-in-chief Eric. So I want to give one last shout out and thanks to Will Robson here for joining us. His Kickstarter is called, what's it called again? Outbreaks. Starts on September 1st. Some of the benefits of backing Outbreaks will get you original art. They'll get you sketch covers. There's a trading card game, which I think will interest Anton quite a bit. You don't draw people into the comic, though, and I'm a little disappointed. That's my favorite backer thing. I'm in a Houdini comic. I would like to be in every comic because I love all of this. But that starts on September 1st. And so thank you very much, Will, for joining us here today.
Thank you.
I've had a good time.
Yeah. And look, if you want to read a story from the book, you can go to my website, speechcomics.com. And on that website is for free the first chapter of my Dead Eye Dick story that I talked about on this podcast, which is written, drawn, lettered, colored, and all this other stuff by me. So that's completely free. So you can see if the book's for you, and if it's you, then come join me on September 1st when we launch issues 1 through 2.
Fantastic. This has been Happy Hour number 11, Zombies. That's Cullen Bunn and Anton Kromoff. I'm Brendan Allen, and our guest today was Will Robson, who has Outbreaks on Kickstarter September 1st. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.